Hello everyone and welcome to another super late review. A review of a game that's been out for a while now, or at least everyone else has reviewed it already, so why are you watching this? I don't know. But anyway, these are my thoughts and opinions on the recent Hitman game, Hitman 3, which was billed as the final chapter in the recent Hitman reboot, if you will, the final game in the trilogy, and I played it. I played it all the way through, and I have some thoughts, so here we go. Just a warning, there will be probably slight spoilers, particularly just going into mission locations more than anything. If you want to play the game and not know anything about it, maybe skip this video, but yeah, I'm going to be talking about light plot elements and mostly just what the missions are like and how you can go about some of them. I wanted to warn people about that because for me, one of the greatest joys and greatest appeals of the Hitman series as a whole is the puzzle element. They are basically puzzle games where you have to kind of figure out how best to go about things. And discovering those for yourself, in my opinion, is the most fun. You could obviously watch a guide or read a guide and then still play the games and still have a lot of fun, but I think you're missing out on a key aspect of the experience if you do that. So I went into this pretty blind, and unfortunately I hadn't actually had chance to play the second game. For some reason I just didn't get around to it, but I did play the first one and I absolutely loved it. If you liked the first game, and I'm assuming the second game is exactly the same, if you liked those, you're going to love Hitman 3. It gives you more of the same. Probably a little more polished, if anything, but it's not reinventing the wheel. They have found a formula that I think really works. Especially after, I think, a lot of people were let down by Absolution. It definitely went in a different direction for a Hitman game, and while it's definitely not a bad stealth game, it didn't really feel like a Hitman game, so I was glad when they sort of reinvented it, went back to basics, and it's a lot of fun. It really plays well. The stealth is incredibly solid. They've got the disguise mechanics down, you know, having certain people being able to recognize that you're not one of, you know, them is really cool and not completely broken like it was in Absolution. And definitely a massive improvement over the early games, which for the time were, you know, incredibly fun. They haven't aged the best. A lot of random bullshit can happen in the older games where you're like, I'm wearing a disguise, and yet everyone is still suspicious of me for no reason. That very rarely happens in these ones now. It's so well done, and really encourages you as well to experiment, because you can save whenever you want, and there really is, apart from, you know, getting shot and being killed, there's no real penalty for failure. So it's just, here's a massive sandbox, go and explore it, try different things, see what works, and they fill these levels with, oh my god, so many different opportunities. It's insane. I played through the game and I did each mission once, and that was fine. That was still a really satisfying experience, although quite a short one, because these games have never been very long. The older Hitman games had a billion levels, but none of them were particularly large in scale, with the odd exception. But these levels are huge, so even if there are only like 5 or 6 in the game, the way that you can go about the levels themselves really just encourages so much replayability, because you could do the same level 10, 15 different times, and that's what I love about these games. The challenges that you can unlock, it's just a really clever system in that, you know, you do something in a level, you beat it, you get a score, you unlock more things to do in that level, so you could have new starting locations, new weapons, new outfits. It's just so much fun to go into a level you've already beaten and say, right, I'm gonna do this in a completely different way now. For example, in probably my favorite level in the game, Dartmoor, you can go in disguised as a private detective, and you end up solving a murder while you try and commit a murder. And it's completely optional. You don't need to do it, but there's so much fun in trying to figure out who murdered this person, who committed the crime, and it was just incredible. I can't praise that level enough, and it was a really gorgeous location. I gotta mention just the visuals in general. I played this on PS5. I don't know if the PS4 version is... I'm guessing it's going to be pretty similar visually, but it's absolutely stunning. The only thing I would say was some of the cutscenes were a little bit wooden at times with the animations, at least to me. And I'm going to go into the story in a minute because there is a story, and I think they really try and push it, but for some reason it never really grabbed me in any of these games. I don't really play Hitman for the story, to be honest, so I wasn't really disappointed, but the story itself, I guess I'm going into it now, fuck it. It was okay, it was fine, there was a reason to do things, but really, all I want from a Hitman game is give me a big level, give me some targets, and give me a shit ton of ways I can kill them, and I'm a happy man, okay? That's all I want. I don't really need a deep story or some meaningful examination of the human psyche. I just want to kill people. Please do not take that out of context. Although I did find the ending quite satisfying, actually. As much as I didn't really find myself invested at all, it had some fun moments for sure. So yeah, the story for me was never a selling point. It never has been in a Hitman game, and really the only Hitman game that I was invested in the story was Absolution, but the gameplay itself didn't really match and didn't really feel like a Hitman game for me. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the story not being the main draw. As for the levels themselves, I mentioned the Dartmoor mission, which is probably is my favorite just for the setting and the premise. But all of them were really fun. The last mission, I would say, is more linear. I mean, it's literally on rails. You're on a train. And it felt more like a Splinter Cell mission than a Hitman mission. But it was also nice because it was the final one, and it changed things up a little bit. So I was fine with that. The rest of the missions were huge and just so open to possibilities. Dubai was one hell of an opening. Absolutely gorgeous. Visually, probably the most impressive one. Maybe China. The China level was also really good to look at with the rain and the neon lights and stuff. That was also one of the more unique missions, I'd say, in terms of how you went about killing your targets. I have gone back and replayed these missions at least a couple times just to see what else I could have done. But I have not scratched the surface. There are so many things I still need to unlock, things I've not seen, opportunities that I've not seen. But I did most of the mission stories, which I think they've always been a thing in these newer games, but I think they changed the name, because I didn't realize at first. I thought when I did the first Dubai mission, I was like, oh, is this just the way I have to do this? Because it was the first thing I came across, and then it sort of really guided you along that process, but it turns out that's just one of many things you can find. Basically opportunities. So that was nice. That was nice that they have, the more detailed plans. It kind of guides you along, gives you waypoints, characters tell you what to do, but you can turn that off, I believe. So if you want to just go in completely blind and figure shit out on your own, you can do. Or at least I believe so. I have not done that because I did enjoy knowing where to go at times, because these levels are massive and there's so many different working parts that it did lead to some glitches, I gotta say. I streamed the China mission, for example, and boy, did the AI not want to do what it was supposed to do. Characters would get frozen in place, they wouldn't trigger dialogue that needed to be triggered. So it involved a lot of reloading, unfortunately. I think that's always kind of been a problem with the Hitman games, because there is a lot of things that have to happen in perfect sequence, and if you do something just a little bit off, it can throw the scripting completely, and yeah, that can be frustrating. But at least it lets you save as often as you want, so it wasn't a huge deal. But it's something to bear in mind. And like I said, the story for me wasn't the best, but it had a pretty satisfying ending. Just the gameplay. The gameplay speaks for itself. It was so fun. I am going to be playing these missions for a very long time, I can tell. And it's also nice that you can play the first 2 games missions within Hitman 3 as well if you have them. That was good. I haven't done that, but just the fact that you can have them all in one place is convenient and nice. The biggest complaint I have with this game, though, and it goes to the other ones as well, Hitman 1 and 2, both had this. I really despise having to play in online mode to unlock challenges and make progress, have progression. You can play through in offline mode, you can do the missions, but you do not get anything for it. You do not unlock any scores or items or anything you can use in the missions again. So having to play in online mode is a ball ache, especially when the server decides it just wants to lose connection for no reason. Like, my internet was fine, but at times it was just constant, minute after minute. Oh, you need to reconnect. And it did. It reconnected instantly, so I don't know why it was struggling so much. Maybe because everyone was playing it, I don't know. It's just very annoying, and I don't really understand the need for a single-player game to have always online. I really don't. I mean, fair enough, there is, online leaderboards for this, so you can sort of, compare your score to other people. I get that being online, okay? That's fine. I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't personally care about scores or anything, but it's nice. However, for a massively single-player game like this, I don't see the need for it, and I wish they would just scrap it, but I don't know. In terms of future Hitman games, they do set up, I think, a possibility for more. I don't know if they're going to be doing that anytime soon, because I think IO Interactive are working on a James Bond game, which I'm very excited for, actually. I think it could be really good. It could be really good. If they use this template of the way Hitman plays with a James Bond, maybe make it a little bit more action-orientated with a Bond game, I think it could be something special. But I really enjoyed Hitman 3. If I had to score it, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, just because it was glitchy at times, and it's not the longest game, and the story didn't really do much for me. But everything else, absolutely fantastic. I recommend it to any fan of the series if you've not played it, especially if you like Hitman 1 and 2. No, not the first Hitman 1 and 2. The new Hitman 1 and 2. So confusing. Definitely give it a try. And maybe check out my playthrough. I did a playthrough, which you've probably been watching footage of this whole time. But thank you, everyone, for watching this. I don't do many reviews at all, but every now and then I like to give my thoughts on a game, especially if it's a game that's, fairly new. So check out other reviews I've done on the channel. I do playthroughs, but just like the video if you've enjoyed this, and let me know what you thought. If you've played it, I would love to know. So, thank you for watching, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you next time for another super late review in whatever game I decide to do that with next.
This is Snake, telling you to subscribe to Mage Masher 22 on YouTube and Twitch. Snake out.